Famous artists helped the company exemplify the all-American image that was created during the first half of the 20th century. The use of radiant, vivacious, and breezy young women, who were always being shown in the latest fashion since the late 1800s, helped catch the eye of the younger male and female population. Coca Cola found out that their sales would be higher if they had famous artists or celebrities plastered all over their advertisements. They used leading artists of America's golden age of illustration to help with their sales. Hayden H. Bloom major ideas included depicting wholesome, healthy, and happy people to make advertising more upbeat and cheerful. In doing this, he made the dark days of the Great Depression more familiar and comforting to American citizens. In 1931, Bloom created the image of Santa Claus. Santa wore a red jacket with a jolly old face with a long white beard. He continued to draw Santa for more than 30 years for the Coca-Cola holiday campaigns. Norman Rockwell, famous for his Tom Sawyer painting that depicted him sitting on a tree stump, fishing with his dog, drinking a Coca-Cola, painted 6 different illustrations that were used for multiple purposes, including a Saturday Evening Post ad, 4 calendars, and a billboard. 3 of the original 6 drawings are still missing today. Vivian, or known as the Coca-Cola Girl, was used through the company's advertising. She was a beautiful young girl that graced the pages of magazines and smiled above the cities and towns on the billboards that stood high in the sky. In 1927, the company sponsored their first ever radio program, and they used Vivian as the voice of the Coca-Cola Girl. The radio broadcast was premiered on May 10, 1927. This was the first time that America was introduced to Vivian. It was not the usual broadcast that was heard from many driving to school or work every morning. It was a 14-week radio show that listeners had to stay tuned in order to hear about the romance between Vivian and Jim. In the romance, Coca-Cola made it extremely emotional by getting Vivian and Jim to meet each other in different parts of the country each week to visit many exciting places together. Coca-Cola murals that were painted on the sides of buildings were the earliest forms of advertising. Properties rented their wall space to Coca-Cola and other advertisers. 25% of the company's entire advertising budget was devoted to wall signs. Typically, these signs would be found in high-trafficked areas such as busy intersections and or next to railroad tracks. These signs were painted near intersections of towns to welcome them to the town. Asa Candler, the master marketer, grew Coca-Cola into a global company by guarding the secret formula from everyone. He had a firm belief that Coca-Cola was going to do well compared to other drinks. He distributed thousands of coupons for a complimentary glass of Coca-Cola to pharmacists and consumers. He promoted his business heavily by distributing souvenir fans, calendars, clocks, and countless other novelties, all stating the trademark symbol. Asa was among the earliest entrepreneurs to aggressively use the advertising to get their name out on the street. Candler was not the inventor of the great Coca-Cola, and nor did he come up with the company's name or logo. He was just an amazing marketer that took Coca-Cola to great heights in the market. Under Candler's careful eye, Coca-Cola's advertising budget rose from $100,000 in 1901 to $1 million in 1911. Candler had purchased the entire company for just $2,300, which today would be equivalent to about $54,400. The business continually began to grow, and in 1894, the syrup manufacturer plant outside of Atlanta opened. Advertisements are a big part of how people remember that particular brand or company. The company focuses was not only in the visual advertisement, but also the auditorial ways. Slogans were used to reflect the brand and the times. Coca-Cola has had many slogans to describe the refreshing taste that happens when you drink Coke, but also had a role in entertaining. For example, where's the Coke, there's hospitality. Coke has had different slogans for the different brands, for example, the Classic Coke, Red, White, and You, and in 1985, the new Coke slogan was Catch the Wave. In 1906, Coca-Cola was named the Great National Temperance Beverage. This was because the societies in the United States were veering away from alcoholic beverages and people were led to drinking Coca-Cola. They marketed this soft drink as an alternative to alcoholic drinking in the country. Soon after the temperance movement, the Prohibition movement came into effect. During the era of segregation, whites and blacks were not allowed to sit or drink from the same places. Coca-Cola came out with an advertisement of the Boys on a Bench after Detroit riots and the MLK's death in 1969. This was a featured African American and white ad that Coca Cola produced. If you look close enough, you can see these boys are sitting on a segregated bench. This shocked many people because it was a powerful statement made by a nationally known brand. Alexander was the first African American woman to appear in Coca Cola's advertising in 1955. She had her first Coke when she was around 78 years old. She was paid $600 for 15 ads, which helped her pay for a year of college tuition. Here's a sample video of Coca Cola showing diversity in its customers.
Beautiful for spacious skies, por tus olas de granos ámbar, yo piscina sakote, soy babaw ng mga prutas. America, America, God shed His grace on thee.
Coca-Cola rapidly expanded from fountain drinks in 1886 that were being sold for 5 cents a glass at Jacob's Pharmacy in Atlanta, Georgia, to beginning to bottle their famous soft drink. Mr. Candler focused mostly on boosting soda fountain sales, but he knew he would soon have to develop something new. In 1894 in Mississippi, Joseph A. Biedenharn was impressed on the rapidly growing company that he installed bottling machinery in the back of his store. He then began to sell cases of Coca-Cola to farms and lumber camps up and down the Mississippi River. This bottle was commonly known as the Hutchinson glass. In 1899 in Chattanooga, Tennessee, young attorneys Benjamin Thomas, Joseph Whitehead, and soon to join them, John Lupton, were given rights to bottling Coca-Cola across most of the United States at the price of $1. These 3 pioneer bottlers divided the country by selling the bottling rights to local entrepreneurs. By 1909, there were 400 bottling plants up and running to distribute the well-known soft drink. In 1916, the straight-side bottle started being easily confused with imitations that were out on the shelves. Glass manufacturers in nearby towns were asked for ideas for new bottles. The Root Glass Company of Indiana won enthusiastic approval for their design in 1915. The Contour bottle became one of the few packages ever to be granted trademark status by the U.S. Patent Office. Starting in the 1920s, more than 1,000 bottlers were in operation. The 6 bottle cartons that were at pharmacies and small stores became a huge hit in 1923. The open-top metal coolers became the forerunner of automated vending machines. At the end of the 1920s, the sales of bottles were higher than the fountain sales. With the sales increasing of bottling, the company leader, Robert W. Woodcraft, began pushing for bottling plants to be built outside of the United States to expand nationwide. His push succeeded when they opened in Mexico, Europe, Africa, and Australia. By the start of World War II, Coca-Cola was bottled in 44 countries. During World War II, 64 bottling plants were set up around the world for the troops that were serving. The plants were converted to civilian use, which accelerated the growth of the company's worldwide business. In the 1950s, the consumers had the choice of package size and type. The choices were the traditional 6.5-ounce Contour bottle or the larger 10, 12, or 26-ounce bottle. This was the first time when cans were first introduced, and they were available for sales in 1960. In the 1940s, 1950s, and 1960s, Coca-Cola expanded to new and different brands all over the world. Fanta was created in Germany in 1941 as a result of the difficulties surrounding the importation of Coca-Cola syrup to Nazi Germany. The name Fanta originates from Fantasie in German. Sprite, Minute Maid, Fresca, and Tab were the first to join the soft drink industry under Coca-Cola. In the 1980s, Diet Coke and Cherry Coke were added to the family. Coca-Cola expanded away from soft drinks and created the energy drink Powerade and Dasani water in 1990.
The retailers who sold Coca Cola merged and evolved into mega chains. Many smaller and middle-sized bottlers consolidated to better serve giant international customers. With Coca Cola rapidly expanding, they invested into a number of consolidations to assure largest plants would have enough space to lead in global retailers. In the 1990s, political and economic changes opened markets that were closed and/or undeveloped decades.